The station floated in the cold dark. It was once full of voices, full of families, full of life. Now only silence moved through the broken halls. The machine still hummed. The lights still blinked. But the hands that cared for them were gone. No parents, no elders, no guides. Only children. 10,000 alien children lived there. They were small and weak, yet they tried to be strong. They ate little. They drank what water the broken pipes could give. They waited day after day for someone to come. But no one came. They asked each other questions, but no answer came. Where did our mothers go? Where did our fathers go? Why did they leave us? No child knew. Some said there was sickness. Some said there was war. Some said their parents had gone into the dark and never returned. Fear was always near. Fear of hunger. Fear of the silence. Fear of being forgotten. 10,000 children, all together, but each one alone. One boy sat by a cracked window and watched the stars. His name was not important, for he was like many others. He hoped. He hoped a ship would come. He hoped an adult would arrive. He hoped for rescue. But hope was fading day by day. The station grew weaker. Doors jammed. Food machines stopped. The air was thin. The older children tried to lead the younger, but they did not know how. They were children too. Then one day a sound came. A new sound. A faint beep on the broken radio. It was a signal. A distress call. So old that many thought it would never be heard. But this time someone answered. The children crowded around the speakers. Static hissed. Then a voice, deep and steady, came through. It was strange to their ears. It was not the voice of their kind. It was not alien to them, but it was human. This is Marcus Hale. The voice said, I picked up your signal. Who is there? Do you need help? The children gasped. A human? Many had never seen one. They only knew stories. Some said humans were cruel. Others said humans were kind. No one knew the truth. One brave girl took the microphone. Her hand shook. Her voice was thin. We are children. We have no parents. We need food. We need help. Please. Static filled the pause. The children held their breath. Then the voice returned. I hear you. Hold on. I am coming. Far outside the station, a small human ship cut through the stars. It was not a warship. It was not a great vessel. It was only a small transport, old and worn. But inside was one man who had heard the call. As the ship drew closer, fear spread among the children. Would this human save them, or would he hurt them? They whispered in the halls. Some wanted to hide. Some wanted to fight. Some wanted to hope. The boy at the cracked window saw the ship first. A small light against the endless dark. It grew larger, closer, real. The air was heavy in the station. The children gathered near the docking bay. No one spoke. The sound of the ship connecting to the station echoed through the metal halls. A hiss of pressure, a clang of locks. A door began to open. The children waited, their eyes wide, their hearts fast. From the door, a figure stepped out, tall compared to them, wrapped in a simple suit. His face was strange, different, yet calm. His eyes moved over the crowd of alien children. He did not speak at once. He looked at their thin faces, their hollow eyes, their fear. He saw not 10,000 strangers, but 10,000 lost souls. The man was Marcus Hale. He was not a soldier. He was not a leader. He was a teacher. He had traveled far between colonies, teaching children of many worlds. He had never faced anything like this. Before him stood a sea of children who had no one, children who had waited for years, children who looked at him with fear and hope. He understood in one moment. If he left, they would die. If he stayed, perhaps they could live. The children whispered among themselves. Who is he? What does he want? Why is he here? Marcus took one slow step forward. He raised his hands, showing he carried no weapon. His voice was soft but clear. I came because you called. I came because you need someone. I do not know all your pain, but I know this. You are not alone now. The children listened. Some wanted to trust. Some wanted to run. But they all felt his words. The silence of the station was broken. Something new filled the air. Not fear, not hunger, but the smallest spark of hope. 10,000 alien children had no one until a human teacher stepped in. Marcus Hale stood in the docking bay, still as stone. Around him were hundreds of alien children, their faces filled with fear, anger, and confusion. They stared at him as if he were a ghost from some old story. None moved closer. None trusted him. He understood. Why would they? He was human to them. His kind was strange and unknown. His arms were too short, his skin too smooth, his face too bare. He was not like their parents, not like their people. But Marcus did not turn away. He lowered his bag, unsealed his helmet, and showed his face. His brown eyes were tired from years of travel, yet steady. His mouth did not smile, but it did not frown. He wanted them to see that he was not a threat. The children whispered in their own tongue, sharp clicks and soft tones. Marcus did not understand the words, but he felt their meaning. Distrust, fear, doubt. At last, a tall boy, perhaps the oldest among them, stepped forward. His arms were thin, his clothes ragged, but his back was straight. He glared at Marcus with eyes that tried to be strong. Why are you here, human? The boy asked in broken standard. His voice shook but did not break. Are you here to take us? To use us? To end us? Marcus shook his head slowly. His voice was calm, low, and even. No, I came because I heard your call. I came because you are children, and children should not be alone. The boy's jaw tightened. He looked back at the others. Some hissed. Some cried out in fear. One shouted, Liar, he will hurt us. Marcus did not move closer. He did not raise his hands higher. He only spoke again, steady as a stone in a storm. I will not hurt you. I came to help. I am not a soldier. I am not a traitor. I am a teacher. The word, teacher, meant little to most of them. Many did not even know it, but it carried a weight in Marcus's voice. It was not a word of power or of threat. It was a word of care. The tall boy narrowed his eyes. A teacher? What is a teacher? Marcus breathed slowly. He had taught many kinds of children before, human, alien, hybrid. Each world had its own way, but this was different. These children had no parents, no guides, no safety. How could he explain what a teacher was? He crouched, lowering himself to their height. He pointed at a small girl who hid behind the others, clutching a broken toy in her hands. A teacher shows you how to fix what is broken, Marcus said softly. He pointed at another child who held a thin slice of stale food. A teacher shows you how to make more food, so you do not go hungry. He tapped his chest. A teacher shows you how to live, so you may grow stronger than you were yesterday. The children listened, silent now. They did not trust him, but they were curious. The tall boy frowned but asked, Why? Why would you do this? We are not your kind. Marcus nodded. That does not matter. Children are children, no matter their kind. And I am a teacher. Teaching is what I do. If you let me stay, I will teach you. If you send me away, I will go. The boy looked back at the others. They muttered, argued, cried out. Fear and doubt filled the air. At last, the boy turned back. You may stay, but if you hurt us, we will cast you into the dark. Marcus inclined his head. That is fair. The first days were hard. The children kept their distance. They followed him with their eyes, whispering, watching, waiting for him to fail. Marcus did not try to force their trust. He began with simple things. The air filters were clogged with dust. The water tanks leaked. The food machines sputtered. Marcus rolled up his sleeves and worked. He cleaned, patched, and repaired with tools from his ship. Some of the older children watched. When the filter began to hum again, and fresh air filled the halls, the children gasped. When the water flowed clean from the pipes, they shouted in surprise. When the food machines produced warm, edible bread, they stared in wonder. Marcus did not boast. He did not claim glory. He only said, "These things keep you alive. I can show you how to keep them working." A few curious ones stepped forward. They wanted to learn. Their hands were clumsy, their minds distracted, but Marcus was patient. He showed them how to turn a screw, how to replace a seal, how to listen for the hum of a working machine. For the first time in years, the children felt hope, but not all welcomed him. Some whispered that he was a trickster. Others said he would enslave them once they depended on him. One group even tried to steal from his ship, hoping to drive him away. Marcus caught them in the act. The children froze, expecting anger, punishment, even violence. But Marcus only looked at them with tired eyes and said, "If you want what I have, ask. If you steal, you learn nothing. If you ask, I can teach." The children stared at him, confused. Adults in their memory had shouted, beaten, or locked them away. But Marcus only spoke and walked away. Slowly, the group began to follow him too. At night, when the younger ones slept, Marcus sat in the halls with the older children. They asked questions, sharp and heavy. Where are our parents? Why did no one come before you? Will more humans come? Will they take us away? Marcus did not lie. He did not pretend to know what he did not. "I do not know what happened to your parents," he said quietly. "I do not know why no one came. But I came. And as long as I am here, you are not alone." His honesty surprised them. Most adults they remembered had spoken in half-truths, hiding pain behind soft lies. Marcus gave them truth, even when it hurt. One night, the tall boy sat beside him. His name was Chiron. His eyes were still sharp, still guarded, but softer than before. "You are strange, human," Chiron said. Marcus smiled faintly. "I hear that often. Why stay? You could leave. You could go back to your world." Marcus looked at the sleeping children, their thin bodies curled together for warmth. His voice was firm. "I stay because leaving would mean their death. And I am a teacher. A teacher does not walk away from children in need." Chiron studied him for a long time. At last he said, "Then perhaps you are one of us." The days turned into weeks. Marcus's ship was small, his supplies limited, but the children began to repair the station under his guidance. They learned to grow food in old hydropods. They learned to recycle water, to seal broken walls, to map safe routes. And slowly, something more grew. The children laughed again. They played simple games Marcus taught. They sang their own songs, and he listened. He taught them words from human stories, and they taught him words from their tongue. Trust was still fragile, but it was real. The station no longer felt like a tomb. It felt alive. Yet Marcus knew danger was not gone. The distress signal that had reached him might reach others. Not all who came would be kind. He looked at the children and thought, "I must teach them more than repair. I must teach them how to survive the dark." And so, the human teacher began his true work. The station was quiet when Marcus woke. Too quiet. The hum of the repaired air filters was steady, but the silence of 10,000 children pressed on him like a heavy blanket. He sat up in his small corner of the docking bay. He had made no room of his own, only spread a blanket on the cold floor. It was not comfort he cared about. It was trust. He wanted the children to see that he took no more than they had. When he stepped into the hall, the children scattered. Some hissed, some ran, some glared. Even after weeks, many did not trust him. A few followed him at a distance, watching every move, waiting to see if he would fail. Marcus did not speak right away. He walked to the food machines. They worked, but barely. The output was thin paste and dry bread, hardly enough for the smallest mouths. He touched the side of the machine and turned to the children watching. "Do you want to learn how this works?" The older ones frowned. The younger ones hid behind them. Only a small group of curious eyes looked back. Marcus pointed to the machine again. "If it breaks, you starve. If you know how it works, you eat. Which do you want?" At first, no one moved. Then, slowly, one child stepped forward. A boy with thin arms and wide eyes. His name was Relm. He had watched Marcus often, but never spoken. Relm raised his hand, trembling. I want to know." Marcus knelt and smiled faintly. "Good. Come closer." Relm walked to him, small steps echoing on the metal floor. Marcus opened the panel and showed the boy the wires, the pipes, the cracked filters. Relm's eyes grew wide. "This is not magic," Marcus said softly. "It is knowledge. If you learn it, you will never be helpless." The boy reached out, hesitated, then touched the machine. The other children gasped. No adult had ever let them touch such things. But Marcus guided Relm's hand, showing him how to turn the latch, how to clean the dust, how to reset the circuits. When the machine hummed louder and fresh bread slid from the tray, Relm laughed, a sound so rare in that station that others stopped to listen. Marcus stood and looked at the crowd. Who will learn next? More came forward. First 3, then 5, then 20. They gathered around him, eager now. He showed them small things, how to patch a leak with resin, how to test water for safety, how to replace a broken bolt. Their hands were clumsy, their mistakes many, but Marcus did not scold. He only said, "Again, try again." Each success filled the air with something new. Not fear, not hunger, but pride. Days passed, and the group of learners grew. Children who had once spat at him now followed him through the halls, asking questions. The youngest ones began to copy his movements, pretending to fix broken toys with bits of wire and scrap. But not all were pleased. A group of older children, led by a girl named Varis, watched with sharp eyes. They whispered that Marcus was a trickster. They said he was making the children depend on him, so he could rule them later. One night, while Marcus slept, Varis and her followers crept to the food machines. They smashed one open and scattered the parts. When morning came, the children cried out. Without the machine, food would be less. They turned to Marcus, waiting for anger. But Marcus only knelt by the broken pieces. He looked at Varis, who stood with arms crossed, daring him to accuse her. Instead, Marcus said, "This is good. Now we will learn how to fix it from nothing." The children stared. Varis blinked, confused. Marcus began to sort the pieces, showing them one by one. This is the heart. This is the mouth. This is a hand. Together, they make food. Alone, they do nothing. Do you see? Relm stepped forward eagerly. I see. That one connects there. Others joined in, helping, guessing, trying. Even Varis, though she tried to hide her interest, leaned closer. Hours passed. Finally, the machine hummed again, stronger than before. Fresh bread came out, warm and soft. Marcus stood, wiping his hands. He looked at Varis, but did not accuse. He only said, "When something is broken, you can waste time blaming or you can learn to repair. Which makes you stronger?" Varis said nothing, but her eyes lowered. Each day, Marcus chose a new lesson. One day, air. One day, water. One day, light. He taught in simple words, using objects they could touch, feel, and fix. He never spoke of greatness. He only spoke of survival. But survival was not enough. One evening, he gathered a group of children in the central hall. He brought chalk from his ship and drew on the floor. Strange symbols, lines, shapes. The children frowned. "What is this?" Marcus tapped the chalk. "This is writing. My people use it to keep words alive." The children tilted their heads. "Words alive?" Marcus nodded. "When I speak, my words live for a moment, then fade. But when I write, my words live forever. Anyone can see them long after I am gone." He wrote a simple word, bread. Then he held up a piece of bread. "This is bread. This word is bread. If you learn the word, you will never forget it." The children murmured. Some laughed, but others were curious. Reln touched the chalk, then copied the mark slowly. "Bread," he whispered. Marcus smiled. "Yes, bread." One by one, the children tried. They made mistakes, but each time Marcus guided them. Soon the floor was covered in chalk marks. For the first time, the children wrote their world. But teaching was not only skill, it was spirit. Marcus noticed how the children sat apart, divided by groups and age. They distrusted each other almost as much as they distrusted him. So he taught them games. Simple human games with no winners, only play. He taught them to throw a ball of cloth, to chase, to laugh. At first, they mocked him. Games seemed useless. But when the smallest children giggled, the older ones joined. Laughter spread, sharp and new, echoing in the steel halls. For a moment, the station was not a tomb. It was a place of children again. Yet danger still lingered. One night, alarms rang faintly through the station. A sensor showed a ship passing in the distance. The children panicked, screaming, hiding in corners. Marcus calmed them, speaking steady words. "It does not come for us, but one day it might, and you must be ready." He drew new lessons, showing them how to block signals, how to hide heat, how to mask their presence. It was simple knowledge, but to the children it was power. "Knowledge is our shield," Marcus told them. "With it, even the weak can stand against the strong." The children listened, wide-eyed. They believed. At night, when Marcus sat alone, he thought of his past. He had been only a teacher, moving from world to world, teaching letters and numbers, stories and songs. Now he was something more, a lifeline, a wall against the dark. He did not know how long he could hold, but he knew one thing. The first lessons had begun. And once a child learns, the learning never ends. 10,000 alien children had no one. Now they had a teacher. The station was no longer silent. Voices echoed in the halls now. Voices of children learning, laughing, working. The food machines ran, the water flowed, the air was clean. Marcus Hale had given them more than survival. He had given them purpose. But shadows still lingered. Everywhere Marcus walked, he saw signs of the missing adults. Empty rooms, broken tools, half-written notes scratched on walls. The children avoided these places. They whispered that ghosts lived there. They said the halls remembered screams. Marcus did not believe in ghosts, but he believed in truth, and the truth was hidden in those empty rooms. One day, while repairing a light panel, Marcus asked a group of older children, "When did your parents disappear?" The children froze. Some lowered their eyes. One girl whispered, "We do not speak of it." "Why?" Marcus pressed gently. "Because it hurts," the girl said. Marcus nodded slowly. He understood. Pain was heavy, and these children carried too much already. But pain left unanswered became fear, and fear grew stronger in silence. He looked at them with steady eyes. If you do not speak, the dark wins. If you speak, maybe you find light again. The children said nothing more. But that night, when the youngest one slept, a boy named Relm crept to Marcus's corner. His small hands clutched his broken toy. His voice was thin. "I remember," he whispered. Marcus leaned closer. "Tell me." Relm's eyes filled with fear. The adults were sick. They coughed, they bled. One by one, they fell. Some tried to hide it. Others locked the doors. Then they were gone. All gone. Marcus's chest tightened. Was it disease? Relm shook his head. "I don't know. But some did not just die. Some were taken." "Taken? By who?" Relm's voice trembled. "Soldiers. Not ours. They came in black suits. They shouted. They dragged some away. Then they left. After that, no adults were left." Marcus put a hand on the boy's shoulder. "You did well to tell me. Do not be afraid. I will find the truth." Relm's eyes shone. For the first time, he felt his memory was not a burden. Over the next days, Marcus searched the abandoned areas of the station. Dust covered the floors. Doors groaned open after years of neglect. Inside the old living quarters, he found beds unmade, clothes scattered, meals half-eaten. It was as if life had been stolen mid-breath. In one corner, he found a data tablet. Its screen was cracked, but part of it still worked. Words flickered. Quarantine order. Containment failed. Evacuation incomplete. Marcus's jaw tightened. He had seen this before. Colonies struck by disease, then left behind when help came too late. But something was different here. The note ended with 3 words. "They are coming." Who were they? Marcus brought the tablet to Chiron, the tall boy who had become his closest helper. Chiron studied the words with narrowed eyes. "My mother wrote the symbol," he said, pointing at the last line. "She worked in the control room. She was smart. If she wrote it, she meant danger." Marcus nodded. "Yes, danger. Someone came here. Someone took your people away." Chiron's voice shook. "Why would they leave us? Why only the children?" Marcus looked at him, but he had no answer. He could only say, "That is what we must learn." Rumor spread. Children whispered about the black-suited soldiers. Some remembered strange ships. Others claimed the adults had gone willingly, leaving their children behind. Anger grew. Some children shouted that their parents had abandoned them. Others cried, refusing to believe it. Fights broke out in the halls. Marcus gathered them all in the central chamber. He stood tall, his voice firm. "Stop. Your parents did not abandon you. Something happened here. Something dark. But fighting each other will not give us answers." The children fell silent. Their eyes were wide, their breaths quick. Marcus raised a broken tablet. "I found pieces of truth. But truth is like a puzzle. We must find more pieces. We must work together." Slowly, the anger faded. Curiosity took its place. The search began. Under Marcus's guidance, teams of children explored the station's forgotten halls. They opened locked rooms, sorted through scattered objects, and brought everything back. Marcus taught them how to read the scraps of data, how to study symbols, how to think like detectives. One day, Varis, the girl who had once hated Marcus, returned with a cracked helmet. "This belonged to a soldier," she said. Marcus examined it. The design was human, but not one he recognized. Military, perhaps. The inside was stained. He looked at the children, but kept his voice steady. "This is proof. Outsiders came. They were armed." Another day, Relm found a small case hidden in the vents. Inside were medical tools, broken and rusted. On one was carved a symbol, Two circles joined by a line. Chiron's eyes widened. That is the mark of the syndicate. My father told me stories. They take what they want. People, ships, even children. A chill spread through the group. The syndicate was a name whispered across the stars, a name that meant slavery and greed. Marcus's stomach tightened. He had hoped this was only disease. But now it was clear someone had stolen the adults, perhaps sold them, perhaps killed them. That night, Marcus could not sleep. He sat by the cracked window, staring at the stars. His thoughts were heavy. What chance do children have if the syndicate returns? He wondered, how can I protect them from a power so vast? But then he remembered Reln's laughter when he fixed the food machine. He remembered Chiron's pride when he learned to read a new word. He remembered the children's voices, rising together in songs they taught him. He clenched his fists. I cannot fight an army, but I can prepare them. Knowledge is our weapon, and with it, they may yet survive. The next day, Marcus gathered the children again. He looked into their eyes filled with fear, confusion, but also hope. You asked what happened to your parents, he said. Now we know more. They were taken, perhaps by the syndicate, perhaps by others. We do not yet know where. But hear me. This was not your fault. You were not abandoned. You were left because you were small, and those who came thought you were weak. He raised his voice, strong and firm. But you are not weak. You are still here, and I will teach you to be strong enough that no one will ever take you again. The hall shook with the children's cries. They were not yet warriors. They were not yet ready. But for the first time, they believed they could be more than survivors. From then on, the lessons changed. Marcus still taught how to repair and read, but he also taught how to hide, how to trick sensors, how to move unseen. He showed them how to use tools as weapons if needed, and how to stand together, not apart. The children listened with fierce attention. Fear had turned into fire, and deep in the shadows of the station, the truth waited. Somewhere out in the stars, the adults were gone, lost, stolen, or dead. But the children had a human teacher now, and he would not let the same fate fall on them. The past was dark, but the future was not yet written. The children were not ready for war. Marcus knew that. They had only just learned how to repair, how to write, how to work together. But danger did not wait. It came one silent morning. The station shuddered. A deep rumble rolled through the halls. Alarms flickered on old screens. The children screamed, rushing into corners. Chiron ran to Marcus, eyes wide. A ship. It is close. Marcus hurried to the control room. The screens glowed weakly, but enough to see. A dark vessel drifted toward the station, its hull painted black, its signal masked. Pirates. His heart sank. He had seen such ships before. Raiders of the void. They stole food, tools, people, anything they wanted, and they were merciless. The children crowded behind him. Fear filled their voices. What do we do? They will kill us. They will take us. Marcus's voice was firm. No, they will not. We are prepared for this. He looked at them one by one. Remember what I taught you. Knowledge is our shield. We will use it now. The pirates hailed the station. A harsh voice crackled over the comm. Station crew, we know you are there. Open your bay and surrender your supplies. Do this, and we may let you live. The children trembled. Some wept, but Marcus stood tall. He pressed the comm button and spoke with calm. This is a dead station. There is nothing here. The pirate voice laughed. Lies. We scan life signs. Do not play games, old man. Marcus turned to the children. They will try to scare us, but fear is their weapon. We will take it from them. He pointed to a group of older ones. Shut down the main lights. Make the station look empty. They ran to the panels, flipping switches. The halls went dark. Only emergency lamps glowed faintly. He pointed to Reln and his friends. Block the heat vents. Hide our life signs. Do it fast. The children scrambled, sealing pipes, covering panels with scrap metal. The station's heat faded from the scans. Marcus pressed the comm again. You see? The station is cold. Empty. Leave us be. The pirates were not convinced. Their ship edged closer. Grapples extended, ready to attach. The children cried out, but Marcus raised his hand. Quiet. Watch. Learn. As the pirate ship locked onto the outer hull, Marcus whispered to Chiron, Remember the lesson of the blind sensors? Chiron nodded quickly. He ran to the console, entering the sequence Marcus had shown him days ago. A burst of false signals shot from the station, bouncing across space. On the pirate screens, the station suddenly multiplied. 10 stations, 20, all scattered in every direction. Confused voices crackled over the comm. What trick is this? Which one is real? The pirates fired blindly at the false images, wasting power. The real station drifted quietly, hidden among the echoes. The children gasped in awe. They cannot see us. Marcus allowed himself a small smile. Good. Now we show them nothing is here worth taking. He ordered Varis and her group to overload the old cargo pods. They sent them drifting into space, glowing faintly. The pirates saw the pods and pounced, thinking them treasure. They cracked them open, only to find broken scrap. Anger filled their voices. Worthless. Nothing but junk. One by one, their grapples pulled back. The black ship turned, engines flaring. With a roar, it vanished into the dark, leaving the station behind. The children stood frozen, hardly breathing. Then, slowly, whispers rose. They left. We are safe. They did not take us. Reln laughed, wild with relief. Others followed, cheering, shouting, hugging each other. Chiron turned to Marcus, eyes shining. Teacher, we beat them. We truly beat them. Marcus shook his head softly. Not beaten. Avoided. They will return, or others will come. But today you prove something. You are not helpless. The children fell silent, listening to every word. You faced danger, Marcus said firmly. You used knowledge, not weapons. And you lived. That is your strength. He looked over them all, the thin faces, the bright eyes, the new fire in their hearts. He knew the fight was far from over. But this test, their first true test, they had passed. That night, the halls were different. The children did not cower in corners. They sat together, whispering about their victory, retelling the story again and again. Varis, who once doubted Marcus, spoke proudly to her group. It was his plan, but it was our hands that made it work. We saved ourselves. Chiron stood beside Marcus in the docking bay. Teacher, he said quietly, we are ready for more lessons, harder lessons. Teach us everything. Marcus put a hand on the boy's shoulder. I will, because one day the pirates will not be fooled. One day the syndicate may come. And when that day arrives, you must be more than survivors. You must be stronger than fear itself. Chiron nodded. His voice was steady. Then we will be ready. The first test was over, but the shadows of the future were growing closer. The station no longer felt like a grave. After the pirates were fooled, the children walked taller. Their steps were quicker, their voices louder. For the first time, they felt strong. But strength alone was not enough. Marcus Hale knew this. Survival could keep them alive for a day, but life was more than fear and hunger. If the children were to have a future, they needed more. They needed hope. One evening, Marcus gathered them in the central hall. The walls were dull metal, the floor scratched and cold. Yet the children sat in a wide circle, waiting. Curiosity filled their eyes. Marcus carried no tools, no wires, no machines. Only a small box from his ship. He opened it slowly, and inside were pages, thin sheets covered in dark marks. "What is that?" Reln asked, tilting his head. "This," Marcus said softly, "is a book. It holds stories." The children leaned closer. Stories were rare to them. Their parents had told them songs long ago, but those voices were gone. Stories had faded into silence. Marcus opened the book and read. His voice was calm, steady, carrying words across the hall. The tale was simple. A boy lost in a forest, afraid, yet brave. The boy faced shadows and hunger, but found friends and light. The children listened without moving. Their eyes grew wide, their breath slow. For a moment, the cold station was not a station. It was a forest, alive with mystery. When Marcus finished, silence lingered. Then a small girl whispered, "Tell it again." He smiled faintly. "Tomorrow, another story. Tonight, you tell me yours." The children looked at each other, unsure. Then Chiron stood, straight-backed. "My mother sang of the stars. She said they were not cold fires, but doors. Doors that open when we are ready." A boy added, "My father said the rivers of our home sang louder than storms." One by one, voices rose. Memories turned to stories. The hall filled with the sound of lives not yet lost. From then on, nights were different. By day, Marcus taught repairs and survival. By night, he taught words, songs, and games. The children brought their own, teaching him alien rhythms, strange dances, riddles, and sharp tones. Soon, laughter echoed where silence once ruled. Even Vares, once bitter, joined in. She showed Marcus how her people told stories with painted symbols. With scraps of old paint, she covered the walls with bright shapes, rivers, suns, trees, faces. The station grew colorful, alive again. Reln asked Marcus one night, "Why do we tell stories, teacher?" Marcus looked at the boy, then at the crowd around him. "Because stories remind us who we are. Machines feed the body. Stories feed the heart." The children nodded, understanding in their own way. But Marcus did not forget the danger. After games, he returned to lessons of defense. He showed them how to move quietly, how to use shadows, how to build traps with scrap. Yet even in these lessons, he wove stories. "Knowledge is like fire," he said, holding a small lamp. "If you guard alone, it burns out. But if you share it, it grows brighter." The children repeated the words until they became their own. Weeks passed. The bond between Marcus and the children grew strong. They no longer called him the human. They called him teacher, a word spoken with respect. He felt the weight of it. These children looked at him not only for knowledge, but for guidance, for comfort, for hope. He was one man, yet he had become the heart of 10,000. Some nights, doubt gnawed at him. He sat alone by the cracked window, staring at the endless stars. Could he truly protect them from what lurked in the dark? Could one teacher stand against pirates, against the syndicate, against the shadows of the past? But then a child would come, offering him bread they had baked, or showing him a word they had written, or singing a song they had learned. And Marcus would remember. This was why he stayed. Not because he could win every battle, but because he could give them the chance to fight it all. One evening, Chiron stood before the gathered children. He raised his voice proud and steady. "We were once only children, lost, afraid, waiting for death. But now we are more. We are students. We are builders. We are stronger together." The children cheered. Chiron turned to Marcus. His voice grew solemn. "And we have a teacher who showed us the way." Marcus felt a lump in his throat. He did not seek praise. He sought only to give. Yet in that moment, he saw what had changed. They were no longer 10,000 broken souls. They were a family. Still, Marcus knew. The bond they had formed would soon be tested. The pirates would return. The syndicate might come. The dark was not finished with them. But as he looked at the children, singing, laughing, learning, he believed they would endure. For the first time, he was not only their teacher, he was their hope. The stars never changed, yet the children did. Months turned into years aboard the station. What had once been a cold shell now pulsed with life. The broken halls were patched with bright colors. Machines hummed again. Gardens grew in tanks of water. Laughter echoed where silence once lived. And at the center of it all was Marcus Hale, the teacher. He had come as one man, alone in the dark. Now he was leader, builder, protector, father in all but name. The children no longer looked at him with fear. They looked with trust. But the galaxy beyond their station had not forgotten them. One night, alarms whispered through the metal halls. Reln, taller now, stronger, hurried to Marcus. His voice was low but steady. "Teacher, a ship approaches. Not pirates this time. Something bigger." Marcus followed him to the control room. On the screens, a massive shape drifted closer. Its hull glowed with the mark of the syndicate, the Empire's shadow that ruled the outer rim. The children who saw the image fell silent. Stories of the syndicate were heavy with fear. Whole worlds had bowed to their cruelty. Armies had fallen before them. Marcus studied the ship. His heart was heavy, but his voice stayed calm. "This is the test we have waited for. Not scraps of pirates. Not hunger. This is a storm." The children looked to him. Waiting, the syndicate hailed the station. A cold voice filled the calm. "This outpost is under syndicate command. You hold stolen life, stolen space. Surrender, and we may allow a few of you to live." Marcus pressed the button slowly. His voice was strong. "There is nothing stolen here. Only children who wish to live." The voice on the other end hissed. "Children are nothing. Obey or be erased." The transmission cut. The children trembled, but Marcus raised his hand. "We do not fight with guns. We fight with unity, with mind, with courage. Remember all I have taught you. This day, you stand as more than orphans. You stand as a people." Chiron, now nearly grown, stepped forward. His voice carried across the hall. "We are not afraid. We are students of the teacher. We will not bow." The children echoed him, voices rising together. The syndicate ship moved closer, weapons glowing. But the station was no longer helpless. Power grids Marcus had rebuilt surged with light. Decoy signals bloomed across the void, filling space with false echoes. Old drones, patched by tiny hands, launched in swarms, buzzing like angry insects. The syndicate fired. Explosions rocked empty decoys, but the real station remained hidden in shadow. Inside, the children worked with steady hands. Varis and her team painted codes across screens, weaving false maps to confuse the enemy. Reln and his group guided drones with precision, leading the syndicate fire away. Marcus stood at the center, giving calm orders, his voice never shaking. The battle was not of guns, but of wits. For every strike the syndicate made, the children answered with cleverness, with courage, with unity. Hours passed. The syndicate ship grew frustrated. "You cannot win," their captain shouted through comms. "You are children playing with scraps." Chiron answered, his voice firm as steel. "We are children, yes, but we have learned. We have built. We have a teacher." At last, the syndicate withdrew. They had wasted fuel, wasted fire, and gained nothing. Their great ship turned, vanishing into the deep dark. The station shook with cheers. 10,000 voices lifted as one. For the first time, they had stood against the Empire itself and endured. That night, Marcus walked alone to the cracked window. The stars looked the same, endless and cold, but his heart was warm. He thought of the day he first arrived. A man alone, facing 10,000 frightened eyes. He had been unsure, afraid he could not save them. Yet now he saw what had grown. They were no longer just children. They were a people, a family, a future. Chiron joined him at the window, taller now, his voice deeper. "Teacher," he said, "one day you may leave us, but your lessons will stay. We will carry them into the stars." Marcus looked at him, at the strength in his eyes, at the hope in his voice. He nodded slowly. "Then my work is done." Years later, travelers passing through the rim spoke of a strange station, a place once filled with orphans, now home to builders, healers, dreamers. They told of people who had no weapons but still defied empires, of people who said, "We are students and we endure." And always they spoke of the teacher, the human who stepped into the dark and gave 10,000 alien children a future.